Josh was just talking about how nice it is to have somebody who wasn't here and wasn't in this offense to kind of bring a fresh perspective on things. How has that been for you, and how well have you kind of gotten comfortable and familiar here with everything in Tampa?
It's been fun. It's been great. I mean, just as a football guy, you always love learning. So just coming in here and trying to figure out, what they do, how they do it, why they call the plays, what they call them. And I think it's some benefit as well because you could consider me a rookie, So when you get guys like Mech coming in here, you can kind of go, hey, if it doesn't make sense to me as a new guy coming in, there's a good chance it won't make sense to him or whoever's coming in here. So sometimes it gives you a good perspective on the other end of it. Gives me a great perspective in terms of just learning football. And it's all stuff that I'm familiar with. It's just learning a different language. We call it this here. When I was at School X, we called it that, et cetera, et cetera.
What was your initial impression of the offense watching it from the quarterback to the talent, the skill players, everything?
I love it. I've been a fan of this style of offense. Watched it last year, followed it, obviously, with my connection with Grizz, just watching it and picking his brain on stuff last year during the season, stuff that we tried to incorporate at the school I was at. But I've always been a fan of the system from afar. So,
how do you see Ibuka integrating as a rookie? He's capable of playing all three positions. He may be more of a slot receiver than anything at the next level, but who knows? But what is his IQ? It's supposed to be really high. Do you see him just jumping in as a rookie and making a big contribution right away?
Yeah, and he already has. I think you said it. He's got position flexibility. I think people say receivers, but there's really four spots, potentially five, depending on how many you play with. He's got the mental capacity to learn all three, and not just learn it, but actually be good at it, which I think is the thing that people forget about the most. I could learn how to box, but I probably wouldn't be very good at it. So he can excel at all those positions. He gives you flexibility, which means he's an awesome chess piece because you can put him on the field with other core skill guys, and now you can build a system and you really get everything you want because you got all those pieces. And I think we have multiple guys that can kind of fit different pieces. And so as a coach, putting together a system, I think it's really it's a fun challenge to figure out how you can manipulate the board and put your best people on the field relative to what you're trying to do.
You've got a position where you're not tethered to one room. Do you have a sense for where you might find yourself the most, or where you'll be involved?
That's fluid. Right now I'm in the quarterback room, which has helped me learn the whole system. But I mean, I've coached really every skill position in my past and feel good with all of it. So it might change weekly, it could change daily, it could change by period in practice. Whatever Grizz needs me to do, we've given ourselves the ability to kind of do that. But right now I'm in the quarterback room.
What's your impression of Baker Mayfield, and just where do you see him improving his game?
First impressions, just seems like a really good human being, which is where I think you start. Got a really good sense of humor. I think he's got a good balance of keeping things jovial but still handling business. You can tell right away that the building loves him, the players, everybody. I think he's a leader. I think just in terms of improvement, year two in the offense, I think is where guys can improve. He's got a great skill set. He understands the system. But now with a year of doing it, an off season where it's not brand new to you, you can take some steps, whether that's shortcutting concepts and kind of knowing, okay, when we got this last year versus Carolina, just some real life experience running these plays. I think you can grow from it.
What do you make of the Bucs tight ends and their pass catching ability specifically?
Enjoy that room. I was at Oregon State, saw a couple of those guys at the University of Washington, and they're good players, man. I think when I was coming in, learning the offense, my family wasn't here yet, so I was spending a lot of time in this building. Cade Otton shows up on tape a lot, right? And he's not always the number one guy in the progression, but the guy makes plays, he makes catches, he runs after the catch, he's blocking. I think Payne, I like that group, and so I think there's some versatility in that group as well. And I think they could really do as much as we ask them to do. And it's just a matter of, week to week, what the load is on those guys.
I know you've only had so much interaction with players this time of year, off season as it is, but just want to ask you, compared to what you thought this team was, or what you thought the strength and weaknesses were, anything that might have surprised you or impressed you?
I just think it's a good group of people. I think just as a team, I think everybody genuinely likes each other. There's nobody that you just kind of deal with because you have to. And I think that's rare when you get, as many guys as you got in this outfit. I mean, we had 105 or whatever we had in college, and it's hard to get a group of people that massive. And I'm talking training staff, cafeteria, like the whole building is aligned. And so it's been really refreshing for me as a new person coming in here. It has not been hard at all to get going because everybody's been super welcoming, and Tampa just seems like that kind of place where people come and they really just want to stay and be here, and that hasn't been lost on me.
What's your observations of Josh Brizard and the role he's
Yeah.
had to inherit, and obviously not having called plays, but taking over and the expectations and just how he'll handle that remote?
Well, it's an awesome question. So when I first met Josh was 2009 when I was coaching at Yale, and he was, I think, a sophomore. We had never coached together. Obviously, we've had a relationship going back to then, and when he got into coaching, he and I talked a lot and kept in touch, and every step of his journey, every step of my journey, we kind of grew up in this thing together. I was a relatively young coach at Yale, and so it's been fun for me to see his development up close and personal because I think he's absolutely ready for this opportunity. I was just talking to a buddy of mine yesterday just about him, a guy that was with us at Yale, and I think it's awesome. I think the dude's ready. I think he knows what he doesn't know. There's no ego to him. He'll lean on all the support he's got around here. We got a really good group of offensive coaches, which has been awesome to work with these guys. And he's not, his ego won't get in the way of him asking a question, which I think is the most powerful thing a leader can do. So for me, it's been a mixture of just excitement, pride. I love the dude. I'm really working to try to help this dude go as far as he wants to go in this coaching thing. And so it's been exciting. I'm learning from him. It's been really fun. It's been really fun.
Anything else? All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks very much.
Yep.
How you doing? Good to see you. All right, far away.
In terms of the offseason and priorities, it has to be nice to start with having your offensive line back completely intact in a starting five. How much does that help as you go to moving forward as them as a building block for this offense?
Yeah, it certainly helps to have the guys that started most of the year last year coming back, the continuity, the language, and there's some things that you still want to revisit those things throughout the offseason and start back over as it's a new year. But with the familiarity of just speaking the same language, knowing what the expectations are, and we want to reestablish all those things, reestablish the expectations and standards. But really just there's certainly a level of continuity with those guys, and then there's new guys that we got to bring along.
You kind of look back at Graham Barton's rookie year, where it began, how it ended, a mistake in a playoff game, whatever that was. It just, what you think he was able to accomplish as a rookie and where you see him moving in year two, because it's obviously a different.
Sure. Yeah, I fully expect Graham to continue to improve and get better, just like he did throughout the course of the season. Graham's mental toughness is off the charts, and you need that really for any position in the NFL. I think certainly the offensive line position, and then also the center position, because at the center position, the other four guys are counting on you. And so the mental toughness of Graham is shown throughout the course of the season was exactly like we had thought it would be and expected. We continue that to be an asset for him and a separator for him as a player. And then physically on the field, he'll certainly continue to improve and get better.
What do you see from Cody Mauch last season, and what are your expectations for him going into year three?
I just continue to improve. I think he improved throughout the course of the season, from camp all the way throughout the season, and just continue to be proficient at the skills necessary to play the guard position in the NFL. Pass protection, run blocking. Cody's play style is off the charts. His professionalism is off the charts. And just continue to improve the technique and fundamentals that are required for each specific run, for each specific protection, and then also who you're going against. And that's more specific to who you're playing that week, but just continuing to develop his technique fundamentals and then develop his toolbox as it relates to developing an all-around player.
Kevin, Tristan Wirfs said this offseason that Cody's recovery, if he makes an initial mistake, is really, really good. He says he's one of the best he's ever seen. Is that just hyperbole from a teammate, or Is there some substance to that?
No, that's real. That's an important position for all the guards in pass protection, for everybody, and tackles too, and centers. That, okay, hey, you're going against a really good pass rusher every week, and tackle knows whomever, and they're going to edge you. They're going to get on. They're going to swipe your hand, or they can get an edge, and then your ability to recover is critical. And Cody does have the balance, the foot quickness necessary to recover to keep, ultimately in pass protection, keep your body between the defender and the quarterback. But Cody certainly does have an ability to recover. It's certainly one of those fundamentals we work on that we want to continue to have all our guys continue to improve.
Biggest improvement, obviously, was the run game. It was talked about a lot, being last in the previous 2 years. To go to the level you guys did, what was the key to that? And how much, not that these guys have eyes in the back of their heads, but understanding now, Bucky is a good inside runner as opposed to maybe you thought he was going to be more, but the timing and the understanding of those backs, like how much better can they get, with all of that? You think?
Yeah, certainly. It's a great question. So each run, the runner's track, the ball handling between the quarterback and the runner are all relative to how we hit a block. Whether it's a gap scheme run, a zone scheme run, whatever it may be, a perimeter run, a draw scheme. And so it's critical to have that understanding of where the ball is going to hit and then how we want to hit this block as it relates to where the runner's going. And a full understanding of that system in each play. It takes time, and throughout the course of the week, you try to build runs depending on the opponent that might be different but have some similarities. Like, okay, hey, this is a different run, but the guard and tackle are still going to hit this combination the same way as it relates to a different play. But the full understanding is critical for all 5 guys, and the tight ends, and the runner.
Can you talk about the work that's been done by Elijah Klein behind the scenes and the role of importance that he's going to have this year as a depth piece with Robert Hynson not here anymore?
Yeah, it's a critical piece. And it was a critical piece for us last year. As the 8th lineman dressing on game day, it was critical for him, and he's got to continue to develop to grow as a both guard that can play both sides as well as center. And he's been working really hard and doing a good job. Did a good job last year progressing throughout the course of the season while not getting reps with the first team. He was making the most of the reps that he was getting, giving a look to the defense in the individual setting and post-practice setting. And like where where Klein's at, I want to see him continue to get better.
Well, the team didn't draft an offensive lineman. What are your thoughts about bringing in someone like Ben Chikwuma and like his ability to develop behind Tristan Wirfs and Luke Gedeke?
Well, it's a great opportunity for him, and with Ben's limited background of football, just not going back to high school and then really moving here from Nigeria, it's a unique set of circumstances. But he has physical traits that are unique and that are rare to find, and he's taken this thing full on. He's dove right in, and appreciate the work he's put in so far. But yeah, excited about Chuk and where he's going.
Jake Majors as well, the center from Texas. He has an opportunity to maybe become a backup.
Yeah, all our guys do. I'm excited about Ben and Jake. I remember Ben coming out in the recruiting process. He went to St. Louis High School in Hawaii, and then went to Arizona State and then Nebraska, and same high schools like Owen Kreutz, Marcus Mariota, and a number of other alums from that school. And then I actually recruited Jake Majors when I was at Stanford. He was at Prosper High School, and so certainly had familiarity with those guys coming out. And I know both of those guys have played a ton of football, respectively, at Texas and then at Nebraska and Arizona State.
Those connections, are you reminding them that after the draft in terms of connections that might help them pick here, or is that just coincidence?
I think in this case it was just a unique set of circumstances that for guys like Jake and Ben and Chuk, there's a unique set of circumstances. We didn't draft the linemen, and so I think those guys see that as a positive for them, and then our room and how it's shaped. It's a great opportunity for those guys to grow and develop.
Last year, Luke Gedeke had to overcome missing a lot of time with a concussion. It's a tough thing to get back into the flow in the middle of a season, but you watch what he's done. Just like, what is the ceiling for this guy? He's almost played at a Pro Bowl level this last year or so.
He's played at a high level, and like I said, Luke's mental toughness is really, really high. Is at a high level to come back from that injury, missing the Detroit, Denver, Philly, and Atlanta games, and that's a big stretch. It's almost a quarter of the season, and it was a challenge for him to be out. He missed it, but he came back ready to roll and did a good job for us. And really proud of the way he returned and played at a high level all year.
Outside of just mental toughness, what would you say is an area that Gedeke has grown the most?
Oh, geez. Things that just come with experience playing at the right tackle. And I would say pass protection, knowing his tools, knowing what makes him a good pass protector, changing his set angles, changing his hand use in pass protection, knowing the type of rusher he's going against. And this is, I think a lot of it just does, in fact, come with experience and getting more reps. And he's made the most of them and takes a lot of pride in his work and can continue to get better. And then just being a physical player in the run game, I thought he was a real weapon for us in the run game.
Another offensive coordinator in Josh Grizzard, but not a guy you're unfamiliar with, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this is a new role for him. Just from a collaborative, how collaborative is he? Just stepping back, not in the prediction business necessarily, but how do you think he will evolve into that role?
Yeah, it's been very collaborative, and it was last year too. In his role as passing game coordinator, as it relates to the protections, the screens, third down, all those things. And so, yeah, it's been great so far. And it was great last year in terms of the collaboration. And it's always great when it's easy to work with somebody. You got a question about something, you just walk down to their office and talk about something, and it's nice having an easy conversation, just like we were able to last year with the whole staff, really everybody on the staff.
Yeah.
For you to add the run game title, obviously it's you and Bryan kind of working together on the line, much like last year. What's different for you in terms of things that you're now handling maybe you weren't before?
Not much really. Just still heavily involved in the run game plan, and but we're all as a staff active in it and deciding those things and how we want to move forward. And just I would just say with a new coordinator, just working with him in lockstep in terms of like, hey, this is the intent of this run. This is when we want to run it. These are the types of defense we want to run it against, so forth and so on.
Anything else?
Sorry, I'm sweating. I just came off the practice field. Thanks.
How you doing? Ready to roll?
Bryan, we were just talking to Carbs. I want to ask you just how much continuity helps and how much easier it is when you know the five you have going into a year and you know already the chemistry and the cohesiveness they have.
Oh, it's a lot easier. You got all five guys back. We tweak some things as we go through our eval stage in the run and pass, but these guys, we put a lot on their plate last year, more than probably previous staff or previous offensive line coaches, and these guys handle a lot of stuff up front, a lot of stuff well. So having those five guys, communication-wise, is very, very important, and they kind of understand where we're at right now in the run and pass game, where they know what they need to fix, things defenses do to us that they need to change and tweak throughout the season. So the communication piece is huge, having all five guys back.
What was your reaction when the team re-signed Ben Bredesen?
Oh, awesome, right? He earned that contract, right? So he's on that one-year deal. Really happy for Ben. He's the glue for us up front, the tough guy, the hard-nosed guy, the guy we can rely on week in and week out. And outside of Hynson, he's probably the most influential on Graham as far as communication throughout the season. Helping Graham out in his rookie year.
Been a center.
Absolutely.
So that communication was important to Graham. To watch him evolve, he hadn't played center since his freshman year at Duke, and all the responsibility at that position, how was he able to handle that, and how much better was he at the end of the year going through that process?
Yeah, well, Carbs and I went back, and we actually, Carbs will watch a ton of tape, and we went all the way back to that year. I think it was the COVID year, right, where he was center. And you got to give him credit for coming into that program. He didn't even have a spring, came right in, played center there. Obviously, there was a learning curve when he first got here at center, and we started out, during phase 1 and 2 and then OTAs. But, the guys that helped him out a lot were Hynson. Hynson had some of that, play behind him that, really, Carbs talks about all the time. Pro's pro, that's what Hynson was. And then Graham could fix some things at the line of scrimmage when Hynson wasn't in there during the game. But those two guys, I think Graham will tell you, they were tremendous assets for him this past year.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, your starters are back, but with Hynson gone, with Schooley gone, you've got a chance for some new depth.
Absolutely.
I just want to ask you, of these young guys, of the rookies you're just getting to know,
The rookies.
who's impressed you?
All three really have impressed us. They had a great rookie camp, and we were talking about it the other day as soon as the rookie camp ended, that we probably had a better rookie showing as far as being able to compete, being able to execute than a year ago at this time with the other guys. But really happy with those guys. Two guys that have had over 50 starts in their career. And then Ben, who's got the traits that you're looking for in that position. Only 13 games starting, but athletic, long, a guy that you can look forward to developing down the road.
You mentioned losing Hynson.
Yeah.
Who's gonna take, that's such an important role, right? Stepping
Yeah,
in.
losing Hainsey and School, really, those two guys are great leaders. You swing center and guard, and then you swing tackle, right? But I think Graham understands. I think Carbs talked to Graham about this too. He's going to take on a leadership role where maybe in our pass protection meetings where Graham leaned on Hainsey and Baker a little bit in the protections. He's already moved up in front of the room next to Ben, and you could see the development. I'm excited to see where he goes. And listen, Graham's hard on himself, so he's going to end up stepping up this year, and he knows he needs to be a leader.
There are players at other positions that talk about how close the offensive line is as a group. What have you seen from them, as they evolve as teammates, and how much has that led to the on-field success?
Well, I think they were a pretty tight group when I came in here. Even though they're a young group by age, I think a lot of these guys have been together. Carb's leadership has been instrumental for those guys up front, his consistency with those guys. But those guys hold everybody accountable in that room. And, Tristan's been here for a while, even though he's young. And, Jason does a great job, and Jason's staff does a great job of bringing the right character into that room.
With guys like you and McClendon and Kefense that have recent college experience, just want to ask you how that perspective helps. Just obviously the two sides of college and pro borrow from each other, kind of steal the best thoughts from that. What's that been like to have that?
From a scheme point or from a player's standpoint?
From a scheme point, especially.
Yeah, from a scheme standpoint, you see some of the things that other teams are doing. I think we did some things, whether you call it college or spread offense type. Grizz has that background there too. He's been in the league for a long time. You see the Commanders do a lot of that stuff where they evolved from some of the college stuff. But we can handle a lot. We've thrown a lot at our guys, whether it's spreading it out, condensing it down, and then being able to handle these young guys that came in from college. I understand where they come from, and me handling some of the rookie meetings early in the morning, try to get those guys caught up to speed has really been good for me too.
Anything else? All right, thank you. Thanks,
Great, thanks guys.
Afternoon. Yeah, good.
Were you standing on the table for your first round pick this year?
I think we all are. As an offensive guy, you want more weapons, and as a defensive guy, you want more weapons. You got a defensive head coach, so thanks to him and Jason, they gave us another weapon. So we just have to make sure we do the right things with Emeka, get them up to speed, get them acclimated, and make the pick worthwhile, for sure.
But for you, you're one of the few people that's been here through each of these offensive incarnations and changes. Just ask you what you like about this. Obviously, part of the design in promoting Josh is continuity and having the similar offense. But what do you like about what this offense should be this fall?
Baker don't have to learn something new again, right? You might change a few terminology, a few things, make something better, improvements. But for a quarterback to succeed and thrive, he has to have the same system, speaking the same language. This will be his first time doing that in 3 years, So for 2 years in a row having the same system, so I look for him to excel, and to master it. And now you can give the quarterback ownership because he's doing the same thing that he's done the year before. So that helps the offense out, especially the guy that's touching the ball every time, to be able to teach the guys and see things of how he wanted, and just go out there and play to the best of his ability.
What have you learned about Baker over the years now that you've worked with him?
He has a chip on his shoulder no matter what, good, bad, and indifferent. He's always out to prove himself, but he's his own worst enemy, right? I just got to get him out of harm's way. I like his competitive nature, but I don't like it to the expense where he keep getting hit and he won't be available. He's getting older. He turned 30, so I joke with him now, welcome to the 30 club. You're older now, so them hits you took when in your 20s, might affect you a little different in your 30s. So, just to get him to start being smart, take less hits, throw it away, maybe get down, and only, be competitive in situations we call gotta-have-it situations, a first down, touchdown, end of the game, things like that. So, but I love him to death. I wouldn't trade him for nothing or his competitive nature.
That's the tightrope, right? Because it talked to Todd Bowles about, even turnovers, right? We all remember him, with Bowles
Get San Fran, right?
You're like, no, oh God, yes,
Right.
You don't want to coach that out of him, but yet you would like to have him for the whole season, and he's managed to stay healthy enough to do that.
Yeah.
That right there was the guy to have it. So that was the guy to have it moment. So I would want that guy to show up and the guy to have it moments. Early in the game, if it's not there, I would prefer him to throw it away or get down. Or in instances, check it down, add to the punt. Let's play a little team ball. We got a good defense. Let's flip the field. We don't have to get it all in one shot. In certain instances, he thought he had to put us on his back and make certain plays like that, which he did. And it's a fine line of that. But now that's the thing that you fine tuning. Okay, when and when not. And if we can get that under control and limit the turnovers, and I think we can be unstoppable as a team for sure.
How much have you had to plead with him to either slide or get out of bounds on a particular play?
All the time, even in practice. I might say, hey, man, you got to get down there. What you mean? You don't think I can run him over? I know you can run him over, but I'd rather you get down and I have you the next play. I'm not saying. But that's just him joking, his competitive spirit. But that's the next step for him, and it's going to be moving forward because the older you get, your ability, your mobility and ability goes away sometimes. So you have to be smart. And, just to start getting him to play heady, and understand situations and getting out of harm's way, that'll help us a lot because that also will limit turnovers, because he's thinking in that manner. He don't have to be a Superman.
And that's right. If there's one area you want him to make those great plays, but turnovers absolutely can still kill you. And if there was one area, it might have been, hey, let's get those interceptions down, manageable level.
And we talked about it. I would think he had 14 picks, 11 of them came in situational football. Red zone, 2-minute, and just understanding where we can be aggressive and where we could cut our losses. So now you just, emphasizing on situational football, what to do with it, what not to do with it. And, that's what the offseason about, and he was honest with himself. He understands that we cannot turn the ball over if we want to be a great team to compete in the NFC, be one of the top dogs and not cut it close like we have the last 2 years.
Two backup quarterbacks that people don't know about just because they haven't played very much. It's a nice problem to have. I want to ask you about Trask and about Pratt and just the competition you have there and what you like about those two.
Trask is a vet in his own right that hasn't played because he's been around, right? He's been with Brady's and then he's been with Baker. But he's been in the system as well, so Pratt is getting it from the ground up. And he obviously have an opportunity to prove himself as well. But I say that Trask should actually take that next step, in his development, in being around, and this being year 5, and approaching the game as if Bake go down, I'm ready to step in at any moment. And with Pratt being in year 2, just the competitive nature of learning it and just trying to compete and making Trask better. And I think competition makes us all better, and I hope that can be some competition, just to push the needle a little bit for him, because I don't think last couple of years he didn't have that. But now you got a guy that's just as talented as you, especially more athletic as you, when it comes to Pratt running around. So that should light the whole room up, and I'm pretty sure to make us better as a group.
Pratt is someone who, during his time in college, he had a different offensive coordinator every year, and then Baker Mayfield in the NFL, he's had so many different offensive coordinators. How does it really help a quarterback understand just so many nuances of an offense?
You're doing the same thing, but you learn a different language. So that's just like if I was learning, French, Spanish, Italian, we all saying the same thing, but we're speaking a different language. So those guys have an innate ability to be able to do that and understand it and process it and learn it really fast. And that's hats off to them and show how smart those guys really are. I had the same situation as well in my playing career and in college. So one thing you do, though, you learn how to manage a system and get it down pretty fast, because you went through it so many times. So I guess they help them. It's an advantage for those guys.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
How's it going? Good.
Brian, I just want to ask you, I don't know what your expectations were going into the draft in terms of getting help at your position, but just to have 2 rookies and have new toys to play with.
Sure.
Just how nice that is.
Sure. Well, anytime you add to the talent pool that you already have, you get really excited about it. The thing that I'm probably the most excited about when it comes to Mecca and Tez is the people that you bring into the building.
You know what I mean? They're just great human beings. And so, I mean, anytime you add that into any organization, I feel like you're going to be able to help. I mean, those guys will be able to help instantly in some way, shape, or form. So that's probably what you're most excited about just when you're dealing with those guys on a day-to-day basis. It's just how good of people that they are and how eager they are just to want to help. You know, both of those guys come from great programs. They both very similar to J-Mac last year. They came from rooms that had talented guys already there. You know, so them coming into an NFL room doesn't shock their system at all. They know they kind of have to go in and put the work in and try to figure out kind of how it works for them, and as we do the same thing as coaches. So, I mean, like I said, you're excited about those guys as players, and but most of all, you're really excited about those guys as people too.
You mentioned Jalen McMillan in there. How important was the growth of him towards the end of the season, scoring all those touchdowns?
Sure.
As well?
Well, you know, anybody that scores touchdowns, man, you're happy with. But no, I mean, just his growth. Just as a person also, I think it went hand in hand with his growth as a player. And and that's very natural. That's very natural when you get guys in and you look up and you're midway through an NFL season and that's towards the end of a college season and it's like, oh, man, you look up and you got 6 more games left to play in the regular season. And so I think, man, once you get through and just find a really good routine, which he did, really commit to it, and you start seeing the fruits of the labors when it comes of that. So the best thing that he did was, like I said, man, just his growth as a person. I really think mirrored his growth as a player, and just his approach to every day understanding of how important walkthroughs are, how important meetings are, and we're just striving to be as good as we can be that day. That was kind of a real big focus of ours, not just of his, but just of ours in the room in general. It's just how good we can be that day, you know, because if we string together enough good days, then Sundays will take care of themselves. So, I mean, if it's Monday, like today's Tuesday, man, we're going to try to have the best Tuesday we possibly can, you know, and if Tuesday's not over, we still got some more work to do. But, I mean, we just want to string together as many good days as we can, and I think he really took to that, and that really helped him out.
The injuries last year pressed a lot of guys onto the field.
Yeah, it did.
Such to where now you have 8 or 9 guys competing for roster spots this fall that have game experience and can't keep all of them.
That's right.
How it's a nice thing to have in terms of having that many people competing for a limited amount of spots.
Yeah.
How do you see that competition? What are the most important things that will decide those last spots?
Yeah, I think it is. It's a good thing because it's a blessing in disguise because other guys had to take meaningful reps. And there's nothing that gets guys better than truly taking multiple meaningful reps down after down after down. And so, but you said it, we can't keep everybody. It's really going to come down to not just showing what all you can do to help us win offensively, but, you know, it goes into special teams as well. That's going to be a huge part of it. It's going to be a huge part of it. And so the guys, quite frankly, they give us the best chance to win in all areas, not just offensively, but special teams-wise. Those are the guys that will probably get the leg up and being able to hang around. But, you know, the room is full of good players and good people too. And so, like I said, it's going to be really, really good competition and a lot of facets of it, but not just in my room. It's going to be good competition when it comes to who's helping us win on special teams as well.
You came to this team getting to coach Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Now that you've spent more time with them, what were those expectations like going in? And now that you've worked with them, how are they not just as talent, but, you know, leaders behind the scenes?
Yeah, I think you hear a lot about who these guys are. You know, when you step in the building and, you know, when you're getting introduced to the organization, I mean, everyone tells you, you know, how good of people that they are. But it really pales in comparison to, you know, what they truly are when you get a chance to work with those guys. I mean, just that whole saying, don't meet your heroes, I mean, it does not apply to those guys. It really doesn't. I mean, what they bring to the organization on a daily basis, not every now and then and not just on game days, but on a daily basis, just by who they are, the expectation that they have of themselves, the expectation for them to go out there and then play at a high level, and the work that they put in to be able to meet those expectations. I think that's big. That's one of their biggest superpowers for both of them. And so, you know, no ego, truly happy with everybody else getting success. I mean, it's the complete player, person that you would really enjoy coaching. And so, I mean, I said that it's been one of my funnest years coaching. And it's because of not just those two guys, but the room we had. You know, I mean, it was just really good people, and and guys that truly want to do everything they can do to help the team win. And when you have that, that's fun.
Coming from college, you've got guys that you either coached against or recruited. Just was curious with Mac. You would have been in Oregon. When he was
correct.
coming out of the Pacific
Oh,
Northwest.
yeah.
Do you remember conversations?
Oh, yeah. I remember recruiting him vividly. And we remembered each other, so it was good. I got a chance to sit down with him and when we met with him at the Combine. And that was kind of the first things that we were talking about, and we laughed and stuff about that. But, no, I mean, you know, the best thing was you noticed he came from a good family then. You know, I mean, his mom, dad, stepdad, their family, man, they did a great job raising him. I mean, and instilled a bunch of the right stuff in him. And I mean, and it pays. It obviously, man, it's paid off over here in the long run. But it was good being able to kind of catch up on old times, and you get the chance to see not just him, but you know, a lot of guys that you might have recruited and everything else, kind of, you know, work up through the ranks and to be able to get to where they're getting over here in the NFL as well. So that's pretty fun.
For someone like Tej Johnson, he already has his sights set on being the returner this year. But how do you see him maybe contributing on offense and utilizing his skill set?
Sure. I think, you know, Tez, you know, first of all, he's very eager. He's very, very eager to do well. But Tez, he does have a skill set that can lead him to be a good player outside of just being a returner. And so, you know, the step one is right now is just getting down what to do, like all rookies. And so, man, we're really, really honing in on exactly what to do. Then we'll start mastering how to do it and making sure we're doing it at a high level enough for us to win as it gets closer to the season. So that's pretty much the process of not just him, but Emeka as well, but not just them. You know, that's every rookie probably right now in the NFL. And we just got to make sure that we're doing it, you know, as good as, if not better than the other teams.
How important does the pick of Emeka become, knowing that Chris Godwin's coming off an injury?
Sure. Well, you know, those were two independent of themselves, to be honest with you. I mean, it really had no factor at all into us drafting Emeka. You know, the conversation that I had with everybody, I mean, that we were trying to find the best player we possibly could at that pick, and that's what we did. And so, I mean, you know, with Chris, man, we're excited to kind of, you know, with his progression, and we'll see kind of where things go with there. But they were two independent of themselves, really. So one didn't have anything to do with the other.
Coach, thanks very much.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Yep.
All right.
Justin, for you, year two, you have almost everybody back in terms of the room you have. Just to ask you, what's different for you to be in this offense and be around this team for a year now?
Yeah, I mean, year two, it is the same room. I don't know how many times that's happened in my career. We're all comfortable. You know, it's the comfort level, obviously. Same terminology, obviously. Grizz taking over, but we're running. You know, it's the same system, and it is nice to be around the guys with the same group of guys. They know me, I know them. It's a comfortable room.
What's to say about the belief of the players in that room, since you know they didn't address tight end in the draft?
I guess. What do you mean by that?
Just like your trust and belief.
I mean, those guys did a nice job last year. It's like I said, it's a fun room to coach. They know their role. They know who they are, and you know, the greatest thing about it, all they want to do is win. They'll do whatever is asked of them to do to help this team win.
What do you think of Payne Durham and Devin Culp? How they were able to pick up the slack for Cade later in the season when he went down for a little?
Yeah, that was big for us. Obviously, Cade is so much a part of our offense, and for those guys to step in, they did a nice job. You know, and it just goes. It's really that room in general. You know, Co stepped in a few times as well, and what's fun about coaching those guys is it's important to them. They work at it, they study it, they ask the right questions, they work to get better, and so it was not a surprise that obviously you don't want to lose Cade, obviously, but for those guys, for Payne and Dev and Co to step up, it was nice to see.
What do you foresee with Culp? I mean, I guess like a young player, you want to see him get better toward the end of the year, which he did. He had an impact later in the year. Mm-hmm. What do you foresee from him this year?
Really much of the same. Just continue to get better with it. You know, coming in as a rookie, it's hard to play the position, right? The guys are so much bigger, faster, stronger. And Dev took some time to adjust to that, and then just the everyday routine. You know, he finally found a routine, and he started to get comfortable with it, and you know, you could see him just start to
to grow as the year went on, and then for him to step in and have a, I think it was it Carolina and New Orleans, if I'm not mistaken, he produced, right? He made some big, two or three really big time catches for us. So that was fun to see. And so you just like to see him continue just to grow and improve in everything that he does.
Do you expect him back about the same size that he was as rookie? I mean, you're in the NFL, sometimes you can throw in some weight.
Yeah, I mean, I think him and I have talked about it. We've talked about where he wants him to be. The biggest thing with Dev is just getting stronger with it. And then that's just, like you said, a year in the NFL, in the way that we train here, and he'll just get stronger and continue to grow.
It's a big year for K-Dot and going into a contract year. What are your expectations for him? How does he get better as a tight end?
Him and I have had those conversations, and then, if he wants to talk about them, that's fine. But the overall goal for not just Cade, but for everybody, is to be a better player than you were last year. And I mean, I've said that for years. Every tight end that I've talked to coming off of a season is, and it's not about numbers. It's okay. We want to get better at this, and this, and we'll see where it goes. And Cade, I'm very confident he will do that just because of who he is. He's played a lot of ball, and for a guy going into his fourth year, he's essentially started for 2.5, almost 3 years, and he plays a lot of snaps, but he continues to get better. He's looked the best that I've seen him. He looks a lot better right now than he did last year, and it's just because he's more confident in what we're doing and he's playing faster.
What did you like seeing K-Dot and when he stepped up middle of the season with Mike and Chris going down? You saw him get better, and he had a 4-game stretch where he looked like one of the best tight ends in the league.
Yeah, and I think it's a credit to him in the way that he works at it. And he never says anything. I mean, I wish he never gets upset. He's never, I want the ball, blah, blah, blah. He just goes out and does his job. And it's funny, a guy like Cade where the ball just finds him. I think it was the Baltimore game. Maybe 1 or 2 of those plays were quote-unquote game plan plays, but a lot of it's just him playing ball. Obviously he's got a trust with Bake. They've got a good relationship. They see the game the same way. So it was fun to see. I was happy for him, and hopefully we don't have to lose Chris and Mike again. But it's a comfort knowing that he's part of it. He's there.
And then, what strides did you see Cade make last year as a blocker? He kind of set the tone in that room as well.
Yeah, he does. He's and we talked a lot in the last offseason just about his technique. He's got the strength, he's got the willingness. It's just sometimes you got to clean up the technique, and that takes a couple of years to do, because a lot of these guys aren't asked to do a lot of it in college. And I'm sure, and actually I know he did some of it in college, but just the consistent technique and understanding technique when blocking at the tight end position is everything, because you're blocking guys that are bigger and stronger than you, right? So how do you win? You got to have perfect technique, and he really focused on that, and it really came to life.
He's not in your room, Justin, but as an Oregon guy, did you know Tez Johnson? Have you watched more of him over the last 2 years?
Oh yeah, I mean, whenever we get games, the problem with East Coast and Oregon always plays at like 8 o'clock, and then if I see halftime, I'm shocked. They usually go on a Saturday night. But no, it's. I'll tell you who did. My father-in-law loves him because he went to Oregon, so I hear all about him. But no, he was a fun kid to watch, and hopefully he'll do much of the same.
When you look at the tight end room, do you think that Cade, Payne, and Devin each have like their own specific like traits? Like you see Cade is like all-around guy, Payne's like the red zone threat, and then Devin's kind of that speed threat.
Yeah, I mean, I think all those guys have a role in our room, and that's where it's fun to coach, but now we need to just continue to grow, expand our roles. And yeah, I mean, Cade is very solid at everything that he does. Payne is probably the more physical, but Payne needs to work on his technique. Dev is probably the better athlete, but he needs to work on his thing. And they all have their, Cole in the same way. So they're fun to coach in that aspect. But the goal and the challenge is to get better in everything that we do.
All right, thank you.
You guys good? Appreciate it.
I guess I'm ready for you.
It's a lot like Justin, who was just in the room, and that your room is almost exactly the same as it was a year ago. How much does it change coming off the overall run game season you had, and the success they had last year?
I'd say the most important thing is that obviously we have the same guys, but I think they're a year older. I think they know the offense a little bit better than they did a year ago. So that's going to obviously help the room. And then they'll obviously be able to play a little bit more relaxed because they won't be thinking as much.
The way that Bucky just burst onto the scene as a fourth-round pick, kind of taking over the reins, how often have you seen that in your career, someone just take the ground running like he did?
A couple times. If you have a talented young guy that comes in the building, and obviously you foresee him having success, and I think, that's kind of what Bucky did, but it wasn't really any different than like Felix Jones in Dallas or DeMarco Murray in Dallas. So those guys came in and immediately were impacted on the offense. So I think Bucky was kind of looked upon to be that same type of back, and I think he did. But I think the one thing that we got to all understand is that we need them all. I mean, we need them all. I don't think I've ever been in a room where we didn't have 3 or 4 that we felt comfortable putting in a game. And I've always felt that if you have a fresh back in the game, you present a little bit more stress on the defense. So that's kind of how I think we're going to operate. And we're going to try to use them all in the best of their ability, put them in situations where they can have success. And you don't know who's going to be hot that day. But to get back to your answer about Bucky, I mean, Bucky was a unique guy. I mean, he was in a similar situation at the University of Oregon where he started the season with playing, I think, 4 or 5 other guys with him. Then it eventually became 3 as the season went along. And they kind of just ran with those 3, but it still was 3 backs that were playing. And at the beginning, he wasn't really in enough shape to play an entire game or even 3/4 of a game. So you had to kind of monitor how many snaps he took. But as the season went along, I think he got in a little bit better shape.
To that point, Skip, Bucky did an interview a couple weeks ago, and it was proposed to him that you could have 2,000 scrimmage yards. And he emphasized that he doesn't care about yards, he doesn't care about touches. He said everybody in the room is going to get their opportunity. The key is to make the most of your opportunity. Is he really that unselfish?
Yes.
Is he?
Yes. He played at the University of Oregon. They had 5 backs.
Yeah, you were just saying that, yeah.
And they were all good. So, I've always felt, even most places I've been, I've only been 2 places where I didn't utilize 3 or 4 backs. And that was in Chicago with Matt Forte, and that was with the Los Angeles Rams with Todd Gurley. Other than that, all my years in Oakland, I used 3 or 4 backs. All my years in Dallas, I used 3 or 4 backs. And then when I got here, using 3 or 4 backs, My first year here, we didn't have 3 or 4. We only had, I think, 2. So, and we try to utilize those guys to the best of their ability. The most important thing is we want to try to put these guys in position to have success. And what they are extremely well at doing, we want to try to put them in those situations where they can have the success, Now, some games a certain guy gets hot. Now, you might lean a little bit more on him. But it's not because we don't like the other guy. It's just that particular game, he's hot, so we're going to let him roll a little bit. You don't know who that's going to be. It could be one of the 3. But, getting back to Bucky being an unselfish player, he is truly like that. Probably the other guy that I coached that was the same way was Marion Barber. Young man that everyone gets stuck on being the starter, but the starter truly only means you take the first play of the game. Not the snap counts. You got to look at the snap counts. Yeah, you started because you took the first play, but the other guy played 70% of the game. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, sure. You've got Josh Williams here as an undrafted rookie. Is this
Yes.
the first time you have a player whose father also played for you?
Yes.
What's that like?
That means I've been doing this way too long. No, but it was interesting because his dad was kind of in the same boat that he is. He was a free agent guy, came in. I think he originally started here in Tampa, and then we signed him. But he was a little bit different body type. He's a little bit taller, and he weighed about 230 pounds and ran about a 4.4. So he was kind of a combo guy for us, where obviously Josh is going to be strictly just a running back, and we don't really have a true fullback in the backfield per se. We utilize a tight end. So no, I haven't been fortunate enough to do that.
Understanding how you're going to need all of the running backs, how important has Rachaad White been on 3rd down pass blocking, in other situations that's been needed? Do you see him in that role again this upcoming season?
No, I do. I mean, I think he does an unbelievable job as a pass protector when he's under control and, plays with a little bit more patience. But, I mean, he's a very, very capable and good pass protector. And obviously, he's very talented when he gets in space with the ball. Now, I think he's a very good and disciplined route runner, and those are areas that I think he really, really excels at. Now, I mean, he's a good, solid runner as well. But, I mean, I think we have a guy that's a little bit electric that carries the ball now. But I think they both blend together very well. And, I mean, I haven't even touched on Sean. I mean, he's probably the guy that you would say got the short end of the stick, but I think we need him as well. I mean, there's been games where we've put him in, and, I mean, everybody has to have an opportunity to play. Sometimes your play counts higher than others, but I think if you look at it and take advantage of your opportunities, I think it all kind of works out.
The road game against New Orleans is probably an example of riding the hot hand with Sean Tucker. I know there was another running back out, but that was like his true moment to.
Yeah, that was the biggest opportunity he's had, and I think he did a great job of taking advantage of the situation and showcase what he's capable of doing.
From your perspective, what's the dynamic like between Bucky and Rashad in that running back room?
I think everybody's a little bit different. I think all the personalities of every one of those guys are drastically different. But I think they all respect one another. They all understand that there's a bond that they have to have in order for us to have success as a team. I mean, the most important thing is you got to push aside egos. I mean, guys are going to have, stronger traits at certain things than each other, so it is what it is. But just excel on what you do. I think if we can just stay relaxed, stay good as a group, and when you get the opportunity to get in a game, do what you're supposed to do, and I think we'll have a good season and have fun.
Skip, is it difficult if you're Rashad White in your contract year and you've been RB1 to see the young guy come in here and excel the way he has, but maybe push you to a different role? Is it difficult to accept that this might be a little bit different role than what you're used to in the first snap of the first game?
Well, I mean, probably, I would say, but it's not the first game because it happened at the end of last season.
Right.
So, but, I mean, it was a very similar situation with Julius Jones and Marion Barber. I mean, Julius had started for 3 years. Marion came in and eventually became the starter. But you still have to play. I mean, when we put you in the game, you still have to play and operate and do the things you're capable of doing. And at the end of the day, if you showcase what you're capable of doing, you either get paid here or you get paid somewhere else.
That's right.
So it's all about what you do in the game, not about how many total touches, not how many, it's what you do. I've always said that about the backs. I said, everyone forgets it's about a production-based business of what you do when you have opportunities.
Right.
So take advantage of the opportunities you have and have fun while you're doing it. Because it's good to cheer on your buddy. And when you have competition in a room, I think that's the thing that pushes everybody. So when one guy's having an exciting drive and then I say, all right, you're up, it's your turn to have the exciting drive, and we cheer for each other. And that's what this team is all about. So if we have that kind of blend in our room, which I think we do, I think we'll have a lot of fun and enjoy cheering each other on.
Skip, there could be news today on the NFL allowing players to play flag football in the Olympics in 28. And you've seen more flag football than most with your daughter playing. Just want to ask you what you thought about that and how well you think NFL players could handle flag football.
That is a question. I mean, that's interesting. I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. I mean, I'm pretty sure they would be capable of doing it because, I mean, growing up as young players in high school, and you play flag. I mean, not flag, but you play 7-on-7, and that's really what flag football is. So, I mean, it probably wouldn't be a problem for them, but I mean, what is the possibility of if someone gets nicked, and then what is the circumstances of,
They're still figuring out all that.
So, I mean, that's a lot of stuff that's got to be talked about. But I don't see them being able to not play.
What's the next step for Bucky heading into year 2?
I think the most important thing is you got to improve on everything that you did the year before. I mean, you guys saw all the electrifying plays and things like that, but there's a lot of things that he needs to improve on, and he knows that and understands that. And I think he's been in the process of doing that. And, I mean, really, I think every one of them, I mean, they grow each year. And even though you have a good season the previous season, you got to continue to work on the things that kind of held you back the previous year in order to have a little bit more success the previous year. Because, I mean, I've always preached this, and I say you never ever stay the same. I go, you either get better or you get worse. Now, you got to work to get better. I mean, the things that you feel you need to work on, which are going to be told to you at the end of the season, hey, these are things I think you need to improve on, whether it's pass protection, whether it's running routes, whether it's the run game and your footwork and your course. All those things are going to help you become a more solid and disciplined player and have more success. So I think every one of them understands what they need to do.
You mentioned in your previous coaching stops, such as like with Julius Jones and Marion Barber, that you had like 3 or 4 running backs in the mix. With
Yes.
that, how do you see Sean Tucker maybe being that third guy and factoring in more?
No, I mean, he will. He will be, obviously, like I said, we need them all. So, I mean, there's been certain games and times where people will play a little bit more than they would in another game. I think the situation in the game kind of dictates that. And, I mean, obviously, right now, I mean, Buck is a starter. So, I mean, we're going to lean on him. Shad's been doing a good job. I mean, he's played well and has capability of being a starter. I really think all of them really has the ability to be a starter if the situations were different, But right now, the way it's lined up, I mean, I think we have 3 pretty good runners, and I think the 2 young guys we have in DJ Williams and Josh Williams are both young, talented backs, and it makes it a lot of fun to watch guys perform and push each other because, I mean, what do you do when you have competition on a pickup basketball? You're playing pickup basketball against somebody and someone scores on you, what are you going to try to do, score on them? It's a natural reaction. So I think these guys all, possess that within them, so it kind of pushes each other to be the best they can be at all times because you don't want to be showed up by the other guy, even in practice. So, I mean, I think that's the kind of work ethic we have, and I think it's been fun to watch.
Coach, thanks very much.
Hey, you're welcome.
Good to see